Hey guys, we're back for part 2 of angles dealing with the unit circle. So today we're going to start off by looking how to convert between radians and degrees. So we're given this formula that theta over 180, is equal to theta, and that r right next to it is talking about radians. So this is degrees and radians, over pi. This is the same thing as saying degrees over 180 and radians over pi. So basically we're given something, we're going to plug it in, and we're going to convert. So I'm given radians, so I need it to go to degree. These are both radians, so I'm going to plug that in. So this goes right there. That's where the radians go. So I have theta over 180, is equal to pi over 6 divided by pi. We know, as a side note, pi over 6 divided by pi is the same thing as saying pi over 6 times 1 over pi. The pi's cancel out and I'm left with 1/6. So I get theta over 180 is equal to 1/6 now. Now I'm solving for theta, so I multiply both sides by 180. So theta is 180 divided by 6. When I do that, I get theta is 30 degrees. Just like that. So you're plugging in the formula and solving for theta in this case. So now we have 3, so I plug it in. Theta over 180, is equal to 3 over pi. I'm solving for theta, so I'm just going to multiply both sides by 180. So then that leaves me with theta is equal to 3 times 180 over pi. So theta is equal to 3 times 180 is 540 divided by pi. Plug that into my calculator. And you should get 171.9, but we would just round that to 172 degrees. Next part of today's lesson is we're going to learn to convert from degrees to radians. So the other way now. We're still going to be using the same formula, So now I have my degree, which is 15, so I have 15 over 180 is equal to my theta r, over pi. Well, I'm solving for this. So I'm going to multiply both sides by pi. Then I'm left with 15 pi, when I multiply, over 180 is equal to theta r, dealing with radians. I can look at this, and there's no need to plug this all into your calculator. We're solving for radians, so it's supposed to look like these. These are radians. So we're the goal is to keep the pi in there, So if I look to simplify the fraction 15 over 180, my first guess is to just, can I divide the numerator and denominator by 15? Once I do that, divide both sides by 15, I get pi over 12. So my radian is just pi over 12. Another way to think about this, so that's definitely our answer. Another way to think about this, we know that 30 degrees, was pi over 6. We know that 30 degrees was pi over 6, and they're asking convert 15 degrees. So we know half, Half of 30 is 15. So if we took half of pi over 6, if I multiply straight across, I get pi over 12. So there's more than one way to think about this, Let's move on to finding coterminal angles. This section that we're doing today, this part has a lot of information that we have to be able to grasp. So just bear with me. Coterminal angles. So let's start off by saying that negative angles and angles greater than a full rotation, so bigger than 360, are more awkward to work with than those in the range of 0 to 360 or 0 to 2 pi. Coterminal angles are if two angles in standard position have the same terminal side. So if you look at this picture over here, I have two angles. They're both in standard position, okay? One's going counterclockwise, so it's a positive, right? And it ends here. This one's going clockwise, so it's negative, and it also is going to end here, and that's going to be negative 220. These would be considered coterminal angles, okay? Please know that any angle has infinitely many coterminal angles. That's why there's a color coordination on the unit circle. Okay, so all the orange ones are coterminal angles. All these dark ones, it's actually a purple, okay? They're coterminal angles. These green ones, they are coterminal angles, okay? I just want you guys to recognize that. Okay, so now we're going to be finding the angle between 0 and 360 that's coterminal to 800. Okay, so these questions we're doing in this video are your together questions. You're going to be copying these down, and then you're going to do your own. Okay, so what we do is we start off with what we're given. We're given 800, right? And we know it has to be between 360 and 0. So since it's positive, I'm going to be subtracting 360 until I can get a number that's in between here. Okay, so 800 minus 360 is 440. That's not between 0 and 360, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to subtract another 360. So what happens when I subtract a 360 again? I get 80 degrees. Well, I know I shouldn't subtract one more because that would put me in negative. So its coterminal angle is 80 degrees. So this would be your answer. 800 degrees is coterminal with 80 degrees. Okay? Next one, we're finding the angle between 0 degrees and 360. So we need to find that coterminal angle, and they give us negative 45. Because we have a negative angle now, we still start with that, but instead of subtracting 360, we're going to add 360. So when I add 360, I get 315 degrees. Now you look to see, should I add this again? Well, if I add 360 again, it's going to put me out of the range. So this would be our answer. Okay? Let's move on to the next one. We're almost done. So we can also find coterminal angles measured in radians. So it's basically like what we were doing before, except our range is now 0 to 2 pi. And they give us radians. So we have 19 pi over 4. Okay? So we're going to be subtracting 2 pi. It's positive, so we have 19 pi over 4, and we're going to be subtracting 2 pi. Now, when we subtract fractions, what has to be the same? The denominator. So I put it over 1, and I need to get 4. They need to have like denominator, so I times 4 times 4. This becomes 19 pi over 4 minus 8 pi over 4. And then I can solve. 19 pi minus 8 pi would be 11 pi, and then you keep your denominator the same. Okay? And then you look to see, well, is that between 2 pi, 0 and 2 pi? And it's not, so we have to do it again. 11 pi over 4 minus 2 pi. So over 1 times 4 times 4. So it's 11 pi, right, over 4 minus 8 pi over 4. So anytime you subtract the 2 pi, it's going to be subtracting 8 pi over 4 in this case, okay, because we have a denominator of 4. So when I do that again, I get 3 pi over 4. So I look to see if that would be between 0 and 2 pi, and it would be. You can solve that. If you do 2 pi, you should get like, I think it's 6 point something. So when you do 3 pi divided by 4, it's 2.356. So that's between the 0 to 2 pi range, so this would be your answer. Okay? Feel free to pause the video, play it as many times as you need, email me with any questions. Remember, take this slow, take it one day at a time. Okay?